Global Times, 19th of March 2024, the EU's campaign for China substitution in the supply of raw materials will be expensive. The international community has funded China's infrastructure for more than 30 years. However, because China has become a belligerent country, rehabilitating these businesses abroad will cost substantial money. The Chinese Business Chamber asked the EU to give Chinese companies a fair business environment and refrain from using non-market measures that would disrupt the world's critical raw material supply chain. On Wednesday, a statement from the China Chamber of Commerce to the EU submitted to the Global Times addressed the approved Critical Raw Materials Act (CRMA). The act was perceived as a step that would impact regular business activity between China and the EU. According to Chinese experts, the EU's search for alternatives to China's raw material supply will jeopardize China's economic and commercial cooperation with the EU and increase Europe's costs associated with its digital and economic transformation. The Chamber called on the EU to continue treating Chinese businesses objectively. It declared that there is much room for cooperation between China and the EU in sectors like the extraction, processing, and recycling of vital raw materials and mutual industrial dependency. The Chamber hoped that the EU would refrain from politicizing and weaponizing trade and economic issues, lower investment and market entry barriers, promote communication and cooperation between China and the EU on pertinent topics, and give Chinese businesses a fair, equal, and non-discriminatory business environment. The European Council declared on Monday that it would adopt the CRMA, which identifies two lists of materials essential to the digital and green industrial transformation, as well as the space and defense industries. The CRMA will provide a framework to guarantee a sustainable and safe supply of critical raw materials. The CRMA sets three standards for the EU's annual raw material consumption: 10% must originate from local extraction, 40% must be processed inside the EU, and 25% must come from recycled materials. Potential obstacles to China-EU economic and trade cooperation could arise from the CRMA, according to Yang Chengyu, an associate research fellow at the Institute of European Studies of the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences. Global Times they were reported on Tuesday that the CRMA embodies the strategic intention of breaking dependence on import sources of a single mineral raw material and breaking dependence on the supply of refined products from Chinese mineral resources. Yang stated, "This move creates a potential collision between China and the EU in critical mineral resources, intensifying competition for international minerals." The act seeks to leverage significant investments in global critical minerals to improve the diversification of mineral raw material sources. Chinese scholars noted that the regulation is rife with ideological overtones and strong beliefs. Yang stated that the EU still needs to rely on China for raw materials, intermediate products, and final products to improve the economic viability of its green transformation and green product manufacturing due to the close ties between the global green industry chain and China's significant cost advantages in many green industries. Critical mineral mining is a strong suit for China, which also holds a commanding lead in processing and production. As per a September 2023 study on the Goldman Sachs website, 85 to 90% of the world's rare earth element mine-to-metal refining takes place in China, which also refines 60% of lithium, 65% of nickel, and 68% of cobalt. China is a significant provider of essential raw resources to the European Union. Yang stated that the EU's pursuit of the China substitution strategy in the green sector may result in growing costs that it may find difficult to bear, given China's enormous manufacturing capacity and technological advantages.